inviting to the frat party. So yeah, tell me a little bit about how you both got into curling.
I grew up in Red Deer, and my dad was the ice maker at the curling club. So everyone in my family curled, and my dad was working at the curling club. So we would take the school bus to the curling club after school and hang out there while he was still working. So I was probably on the ice a lot earlier than 5, but that's when I could officially join the junior program. And I think it was a couple years earlier than what was allowed, but I got a special exemption into the program because Dad was the boss.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I was going to say, I noticed like throughout a few interviews that we've had with like Jennifer Jones, Carrie Anderson, it's almost like someone dragged you to the rink and it's like, all right, how did they get involved in this? It's like, well, they had no other choice. You dragged them there.
Yeah, exactly.
But Brett, what's your story?
Similar for me. Both my parents curled pretty competitively. Been to the Bryan, been to the Scotties. Actually won a Canadian mixed championship together. Yeah, the same thing. I was just kind of spent a lot of time at the rink when I was younger, and my grandfather took me to the rink a lot when I was a kid because my parents were still competitively curling themselves. So he was kind of my first coach and kind of made me fall in love with the sport, and stuck with it ever since. So it's definitely a family connection for me too.
I want to ask you now, you guys have gone to the Olympics, one with Team Jones, one with Team Gushue. Jocelyn obviously went with Team Gushue and Brett went with Team Jones. Imagine if people are like, is he that clueless? I'd be like, sometimes. But I want to ask you, because, these are two big names in curling with a lot of accolades behind them. But like, tell me a little bit about your Olympic experience. I know it's different because it was kind of like a bubble, but tell me like, what you taken out of it because it was your first time there, and just like what they kind of helped you with. Because I find it was interesting because I know there may be similar demeanors with both, but when we were interviewing Jones compared to Gushue, I found Jones was almost like, yeah, we're so excited for Jocelyn to have her first experience. Like, we're just going to let her soak it in. And Gushue's mindset now, again, nice fella, but I felt like he was like, when we get there, there's no visitation. It's locked down. We're going for gold. And I was like, all right, I hope Brett and Jocelyn can text each other. God, like the way he was making it sound was like there's no. And I was like, but tell me a little bit about your experience, like the mental factor or the mentorship of those two.
Yeah, it was like, I think obviously it was a unique Olympic experience with the pandemic and everything. For us, it seemed to be a really long lead up into when we could finally curl, because the two of us started isolating from the rest of the world around Christmas time. And then our teams gathered in early January and isolated for 3 weeks before the Olympics. And then you travel over there and you're still sort of isolating from other teams and other athletes to a degree. And like all in all, it wasn't just the 2 weeks of the Olympics in China. It seemed to kind of stretch on for about 2 months. So, it was, I guess, even maybe before the event even started, we were almost, I wouldn't say fatigued, but mentally you're just like, okay, like you're just itching to get started, and you're kind of like, okay, I've been waiting so long for this to get going. So it had a bit of a different feel that way. And obviously it's the Olympics. So it's like kind of the pinnacle of sport. So it's a little bit different that way too. You're feeling a little bit, I think, different emotions about it all too. And, you work so hard for your career and the 4 years just for that event. So it feels special in that way too. But, I think when it got going, it was just, it felt like a normal curling event to a degree, because there was really, for us, it was just you're in your accommodations, you're eating, you're curling, you're sleeping. So it's similar in that sense too. But then on the other hand, it still is the Olympic Games, and there's a uniqueness as well. But our biggest, I think, hurdle was maybe the ice conditions, and it took us a little while to get really comfortable with those. And maybe we never did get completely comfortable as some of the other teams were, because some of the teams were playing their A level of game, and we just never seemed to get beyond our B plus sort of level of play. And that's kind of why we ended up with third place. It just, we never quite got our A plus a game from all four of us at the same time, and they did.
And Jocelyn, what was your experience like?
Yeah, like you kind of mentioned, Jen was all about kind of the whole Olympic experience, and I knew that going into it, even before the trials, and they've shared lots of stories about their experience in Pyeongchang. So I knew that she was going to be, all about that for me, and making sure that I enjoyed the whole experience. So we tried to do as much as we could in the time that we had there before we started the event, see as many sports as we could and meet as many of the other athletes from Team Canada. And then, once the event started, similar to Brett, like we don't normally really see each other if we're competing in the same event, like at the trials. I don't think I ever saw him, where we kind of keep to ourselves, and you're napping between games and treating it just like any other event. Just a few differences, with the transportation and that kind of stuff. And there was obviously a lot of COVID protocols, but I think for Brett and I, being, it was our first time, and with teammates who had experienced different Olympic experiences, I think we just went in. It was still a dream come true for us, and we didn't have anything else to compare it to. So we had masks on, and maybe we couldn't, socialize as much with people from other countries, but it was our Olympic experience, and that's all we know. And there wasn't really anything that we wish we could have done, I guess, from my opinion, that we weren't allowed to. So.
It kind of, I feel like for Newfoundlanders down here, I feel like it's a bit of a separation. Like, I don't know if you are now like the heels or the villains in Newfoundland. I feel like you guys should still be loved and respected. But like, I've gone from looking at Instagram posts where I'm like, oh, like Gushue really gets everyone involved. Like inside of like, with Jeff Walker, anytime Laura Walker posts something, even with I'm blanking on the kid's name there now, but Leah. That gets posted. Yeah, that gets posted. If Jocelyn is doing something successful, you see Team Gushue go like, hey, check this out as well. I'm like, it feels like one big happy family. And then you two are just still like, you know what? It's been fun. Peace out. Like, I was actually kind of sad when I seen Gushue post. I think it's like maybe it was the Bryan one trophy that you won this year. And I think Jocelyn, you and Laura get a picture with it. And then it was like, kind of like, this will be the last hurrah. I'm like, I'm like, what are you guys doing? But explain that to me, because I originally thought it was due to curling's new rule system of you had to live here to be a part of this team. But it just seems like you two are like, all right, we've gone to the Olympics. We're good to go on our own now. Now correct me, because people are going to be like, how dare he?
No, not at all like that. I guess, we've been essentially in a long distance relationship for 5-6 years now, and completely different home bases where, we're in St. John's, and Jocelyn's been in living in Winnipeg, and then we both have families in different provinces. So we're spending kind of our time, curling season mainly in a city with our team, spending off season in different provinces with our families, and the wedding that's coming up this summer. And then, we're looking to probably start a family ourselves within the next Olympic cycle. And it just makes sense for us to base our home base a little bit closer to some of our family.
Yeah.
And that being said, it's a huge commitment to base yourself in a city that's not the same as your team. And the time it takes, like Jeff does an amazing job with Team Gushue of, spending a week, not even in competition, but a week in Newfoundland just to train with us and to get prepped. He does that 3-4 times a year to get prepped up for big events. And it's just a lot more time on the road and a time away from your family. And it's just, that is a big reason, something I didn't really want to commit to doing. And with this cycle, with lots of teams shifting and changing, it just set up best for us to, if we're going to make a change, we'll make it now before the cycle starts and everybody's got a chance to line up a new team. And so we're super excited. Just to finally have a home that we can share throughout the whole year and not have to spend quite as much time living out of a suitcase and on the road as we have been.
Now, I feel like for you, and this is like all jokes aside here too, or maybe it's a joke, but like I have heard with the Raptors when like the Raptors won with Kawhi, and then like Drake was trying to convince Kawhi to stay, and then Paul George was in his ear. Was this like when you were in this whole frat house? Was Mark Kennedy was like everyone gets a Canada jersey? Brett, can you come here for a minute? I'm thinking about leaving, and then it's just like I'm in with you, this guy, right? And then I feel like with Jocelyn's case with Kate Lalonde, she's like, I've been a part of Jones's team for so long. I know all her secrets. Let's go. But like, yeah, I'm kind of interested because in your case, Brett, you're going with Botcher, correct?
Yep.
And then who else is on that team?
So Mark Kennedy playing third, and then Ben Hebert playing lead.
Okay.
So it's just funny. Like, well, we knew we were going to kind of base ourselves out of Alberta and live in Alberta. And you kind of just go through who in your mind, like if you're going to get a team together with 4 guys that all live in the same province, and you kind of start looking at each position, and then like, Mark Kennedy, he's been a top third in the game, for 10 years now. You got Brendan, who's been in the Brier final, 4 out of the last 5 years, and has won a Brier, and he's only 30 years old, and then you got Benny, who is a crazy sweeper. He's even a decent thrower on the out turn, and it just seemed to come together, and everybody was kind of just interested. When we all kind of said, "Listen, like I'd like to play with you, but I'd like this to be the other couple guys," and I think everybody said, "You know what? If each of those guys are in, then I'd love to play with this team too." So. It sort of came together. We came from 4 separate teams from this past year, but each person sort of slotted in at their I think typical position or the position they're comfortable with right now, and it's going to be interesting to see how we come together because we're all going to be bringing things like say I'll have things that come from Team Gushu that I know have made us successful, and Brendan's going to have things that he takes from his team that have made him successful, and the same with Mark and Ben. So. To see us if we can maybe put all that knowledge into one and mesh our personalities and mesh just the communication and the shot making, all that has to come together, whether it comes together the first week we play together or whether it takes a few months, who knows, but it's kind of exciting. It's a new challenge for me. I mean, you can't I'm coming from Team Gushu. I think we were one of the best teams in the world for the last, 8 years. So you can't really replace those guys. I mean, amazing players, but it's a new challenge for me, and I'm really stoked with the team that we got assembled. So it's going to be, like I say, it's going to be work to put the pieces together and make it successful. But it's a new challenge, and that's exciting too.
I feel like I'm kind of happy you said only 30, because most times when we interview people or have conversations, it's mostly like a younger demographic, especially when I'm interviewing them. And it's like, yeah, it's like I when I get 30, I'm gonna be old. I'm like, I'm 30. I'm just like, but I don't let them know that. But then afterwards, I'm like, I was like, hold on, let me just like make sure my back is straightened up. Yeah. But in your case, Jocelyn, I want to ask you, like, how did your team come together? Because I've only gotten to curling in the last 2 or 3 years because of the whole pandemic. Now that's not shots fired at anyone. It just is what it is. But like, I've never really, I think it's like in the presence of when you see a team come together, it's like, oh, it's like, this is the first time I've seen kind of a team completely be assembled. Like I've seen like Rachel Holman make a few changes. You've been a part of ones where it's like a few changes where it's like Jill Officer's gone, we're taking in Jocelyn. Like that I get. But this is almost like, all right, we're building a super team. How do we do this? But like, tell me how that all came about. Cause I feel like maybe if I was to word it in my own words, it was like after the Olympics, maybe Jennifer Jones was like, do I come back? What do I do here? And then maybe ye started to think of like, well, if she's unsure, we got to make sure we've got ourselves covered.
I wouldn't say it was that so much as kind of
good. You're correcting me. Good. Yes. That's what
you know, when we decided that we needed to be closer to one of our families, you know, his family's in PEI and mine's in Alberta. So from a travel and logistics standpoint, Alberta made the most sense. But unfortunately, with my current team, you know, we had 3 of us living in Manitoba and 2 in Ontario. Dom was retiring no matter what. So choosing to move to Alberta kind of meant that team, as the rules are written now, wouldn't be possible. And from a practice standpoint would be really difficult. So that kind of meant starting with something totally fresh and something where we could have as many people as possible in one spot so we could practice together. And, you know, we're on the road so much for the competitions we play in that one of the main factors that, you know, was on my radar was just finding 3 like-minded people who, you know, when I'm on the road, that we're making sure that we're enjoying it and, yeah, just having fun and, you know, we get to play a sport almost full time. And I think, you know, we really need to have people that you're enjoying that with, and we get to play a game and travel the country. And we're very grateful for that. So yeah, I think I was able to find a team that kind of checked all those boxes for me. And obviously everyone on my team is super talented. And yeah, it worked out that the 3 of them are right in Winnipeg. It's a little bit of a commute for me to train with them, but you know, it was the best case scenario to have teammates that are, yeah, so hardworking, so talented, and just, yeah, so great to be around and be able to play the game with.
Now, I asked it to Brett, so I'll ask you the same, but like, who is on your team? There's obviously you and Caitlin, and then who are the other members?
So Selena Negvin is playing third, and Kristen McCush is lead. So we took the lead and the third off of Team Tracy Fleury. So they are one of the top teams in Canada, and also the 2 of them were located right in Winnipeg. So it worked out well that, you know, they'll be able to train with Caitlin very often, and then I'll be training in Calgary and also with them in Winnipeg as much as I can.
I want to have a bit of fun, an aspect to kind of close it off here for like the next 10 minutes or so. We have a game here that we kind of finish off with. It's called the random question generator. Just basically it is what it is. It just comes up with random questions. You can either choose to accept it or you can pass it. But I think this one's going to be called a couples edition. Basically what we do here on this podcast is we like to split teams up. No, imagine if that's how we ended, where it's like every podcast is like, well, Bryan did it again. Split up another team. It's like, yep. Okay, so the first random question here is, who is the messiest?
Me.
All right, well, at least you owned up to it. That's good.
Yeah.
Like, in what way? Is it just like a messy room? Is it messy organization? Or is it just more or less like, as soon as you like take off something, whether it's like a jacket, a hat, whatever, you just like throw it somewhere, and then literally it could be like throwing it right at his face, and he's like, there's a hanger right there, honey.
All of it. Yeah, all of it.
I don't think I'm that messy. I think Brett's just really, really clean.
Okay. That's, yeah, so it's more or less like the counter of like, I'm not messy. It's just that he's overly clean. He's like Mr. Clean.
That's what I say, but he disagrees.
Yeah, that's fair. You know what, Brett? No, that's good. Just stay solid. You don't want to retaliate.
I know what you're trying to do here. I'm not going to fall in your trap.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's why I was helping you out. I just said, don't say anything. Who do you think has the better choice of music?
Oh, it's really similar. Like, well, we both like oh yeah, we both like country, but I probably at fault go too country and like too twangy and this sort of thing. I'll just play the same type of songs over and over, and they all sound the same.
Who do you think is more stressed out about the wedding?
Me?
Jocelyn, for sure.
Have I been the answer for all of them?
Well, my stress is pretty low.
Yeah, Brett's like negative stressed about the wedding. So.
Well, that's good. That's how you want to be.
Yeah, we had most of it most of it planned in advance enough. We're not super stressed. There's a few things coming up in the last couple of weeks, but Jocelyns handled most of them, so maybe that's why I'm not stressed, because she's been doing all the hard work. But yeah, I'm serious. It's gonna be a great day no matter what for me. So
as long as you're not on the PS4 where she's like, "Come on, we gotta pick out tux," and you're like, "Ugh."
Oh, a tux. That's a good idea. I should look into that. This week, maybe.
That's good. I want to ask you. This is more personal. You don't have to answer it, but like, what's your kind of color? Because I know at my brother's wedding it was like light blue and black, but like everyone has a color, and I'm wondering the color and why. But you can always say pass. Shut up, Bryan. That's none of your business.
I think our color is silver, and now as like athletes, I'm like, God, why did I pick silver? As you were joking about
red.
Try for silver.
Yeah.
Not what we're doing.
Well. To be fair, I'll help you out in this one. What role do you both play on teams?
Second.
There we go. And what is second? Silver. There you go. When people ask you, that's your go-to answer. Listen, come on. You can even like joke with them to make them feel intimidated. Duh. We both play second.
Yeah.
What's second's color? And then they'll be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe they're so mean. I only asked a question." I want to ask you too, like, I guess this one's kind of a fun question as well. But when it comes to, I guess, meal preparations, who do you think likes to dig out on like junk food more?
Me. I don't like the questions.
Man, Brett, like you got your hands full. Apparently she's more messy. She likes junk food. She stresses out about weddings. What are you doing? No.
At the end of this call, he's like, why am I getting married here?
Yeah, I told you this is like what happens. Don't worry. It's too late. It's too late to call off.
We're locked in.
Brett has like all of the willpower of like anyone in the world, though. It's crazy. So
okay, that's fair. I will break that. I will break that willpower. One day I will meet Brett and just be like the most annoying person in the world, and he'd be like, "It's happened. I'm no longer Zane."
Not to say that I can't snack. I'm kind of all or nothing. Like I'll just all of a sudden I'll be snacking, and the bag of chips is gone, or like the plate of nachos is destroyed. But I don't know. Maybe I do it in spurts.
Like what's your go-to, I guess, like candy or food? Like I know when I was younger it was Warheads. I would not turn down a Warhead. And I think you can get like Nerds where they're like sour Nerds, but they're like a little bit like that big. I know people are going to listen to this now and be like, really, you have curlers on and you're talking food. But like, what's your go-to? Like if someone handed me one of those, done. Or sour keys.
I don't know. It wouldn't really be candy, I guess. More like chocolate. Like, I don't know, like a chocolate covered almond. I have a hard time saying no to that.
I feel like when it's time for like school fundraisers, you got to keep your eyes on that one, because there's going to be like people constantly at the door, and she's going to be like, "Come back tomorrow. I'll give you another."
Yeah.
It's like, how many boxes do you need? How many are there? And then it's like, yeah, Jocelyn is actually funding this whole neighborhood. She bought 5 from Sally, 5 from her, and you'd be like, "What's happening to all our money?"
Girl guides are here again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel bad like when they come to the door and they're like your neighbors, but we've got like 4 or 5 in the neighborhood where I'm just like, I'll get 2 from you, 2 from you, 2 from you. But I feel like they should look at that and be like, "Oh my God, we're actually making sales." But I'm sure they go back to the meeting and it's like, he's not loyal to any one of us. Like, to kind of clue it up, I want to ask you, because we went through your curling career. We kind of went through a little bit of the fun aspect. But like, all in all, what are things that I guess like you're motivated to keep going with in curling? Like, obviously it's your career, your passion, but like, what are some things that are like on your bucket list that you're like, I know we either did this already, I'd like to go back to do it, or things that you're like, man, I want to accomplish this. I know it's hard because you have accomplished a lot, but I feel like there could be something where it's like, I've never finished second, and I really want to finish second this one time and be happy about it.
No, I don't think it's anything like that. It's like, want to get back to the Olympics and win an Olympic gold medal, or, I want to win a Scotties championship with this new team so bad. So yeah, there's lots of stuff like that. That's like, top of the podium stuff that like motivates you. And I think if you didn't have goals like that, then maybe we wouldn't be committing as much to it. So it's definitely, kind of ultimate championship stuff that's still on the bucket list.
Yeah, I think for me, like a new team, want to win a world championship with this new team, and it's going to be a challenge, like, because we haven't done it together yet, right? So I think right now is to whether it's the Worlds or whether it's the Olympics, but to stand on top of an international podium with these four guys, that right now is my goal, and I'd also like to win a world championship with Jocelyn, whether that happens soon or later, like that would be cool too. So I think it's winning. I don't know. I just hate losing, to be honest, and winning's the ultimate motivator for me, and I think Jocelyn too. But I don't know. We're highly competitive. Whether pretty much anything we do, it's competitive. Whether it's a board game or whether it's it may be working out or curling or golf or whatever it is. Like, we're competitive people, and
he handed me the same weights as him yesterday and told me I couldn't do it. So I had a very hard workout yesterday because I was like, I have to do it.
That's going to do it for this episode of Tobin Tonight. Our thanks to Brett Gallant and Jocelyn Peterman for coming on to the show. Remember, you can find past, present, and future episodes on TobinTonight.com, Spotify, and iTunes. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and leave a comment or two. For Tobin and myself, this is Jacob saying thank you for listening, and good night.